What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm in the garage again working on the GTR actually today. I actually am going to be starting to take the subframe out because I'm going to be redoing the whole suspension essentially. Getting it all redone so that it's nice and tight back to basically being brand new. So I actually have it all up on jack stands now. If I get down and show you, it's on the jack stands in the front and the rear. The jack stands are actually on the not on the subframe, they're actually on the frame rails here because I have to have the complete rear end. I have to have the complete rear end open and accessible so I can actually drop the subframe down. These GKTech low-rise ramps are actually really good. I basically can't get the car, I cannot get the jack far enough under to hit that subframe unless it's on these ramps. So they actually work really well. And they're cheap, they're only like 50 bucks. So if you don't have some, pick up some of these ramps from GKTech. They're real cheap and they work well. So I've actually already got under here and started spraying these things down with a PB blaster to hopefully penetrate some of there, or get the oil penetrating some and hopefully making them come loose without too much difficulty. I've never done this before, so I don't know exactly what all I need to be removing, but we'll find out as I go along. I got a set of instructions that I found somewhere. Yeah, well, I guess we'll just find out how it all works as we go along. These are my original Advan RG2s. They are in need of a refurbishment, so I will be doing that. These are actually a, you can see it right there, 18x9 22. Well, we'll get the other ones off and we'll see what it looks like. But these will be going to get refurbished. Oh, the joys of having really old, rusty parts. Alright, so this rotor was seized on. Get yourself an, this is an M8 bolt. This is actually an 8.8. You can see it's an 8.8. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's a really strong grade 8.8. Put the M8 into there and then actually start cranking this down until it pops this rotor loose. I hit it with a hammer about 16 times, it didn't budge. You put this thing in there and start drilling it down, it'll pop that rotor right off, which it did. As you can see, that little bolt down in there, it starts to push this away from the hub. Yeah, I got new hubs and everything that are going on this as well. So pretty much everything's going to be brand new when it gets put back together. Alright, so I got the wheel off now, I got the rotor off. I got the caliper pulled, and actually got the caliper pulled up out of the way, sitting on top of the suspension here. These, I'm actually going to be replacing these rear brakes. I have a big brake kit that's going to go on. But it's going to take me a while to get this subframe reconditioned. And in the meantime, I don't want lots of air. I don't want to drain all of the brake fluid out. So I'm going to leave these plugged in as long as I can and probably just like zip tie them up out of the way up here somewhere. That way I don't introduce too much air into the system and make it really hard to bleed later. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going. I'm going to break down all of the, I don't know if I have to do it now, if I can disconnect the handbrake. Maybe I can disconnect the handbrake further up, or if I disconnect it back here. I'll take a look, but maybe I'm going to disconnect the handbrake back in there, and I can just break this down at the end maybe. Anyway, we'll keep going. Next thing I'm going to do is going to take these bolts off of the exhaust as well. Hopefully they've been soaking in PB blaster long enough. Let's go! Oh, come on. I definitely should have jacked the car up further. Exhaust is off now. I'll get that cleaned up and polished so it'll be looking like a mirror when I put it back on. 8 milliliters That's the right one. Alright, I'm starting to remove all of the drive shaft bolts from the rear diff. I was honestly having a lot of trouble with it at first because when I was turning it, it would just spin. But now I was finally able to get that first one to go, and then yeah, see, now it's just spinning again. Oh, there it goes. Came loose. Slowly making progress here. This is an 8mm. I'm just using a 3/8 breaker bar, and then that starts to break it loose. Alright, so what you got to do is you got to take the car out of gear, spin it by hand so you can get to the other bolts, then put it back into gear so now you can break these ones free. Alright, so anyway, the gear you want to choose is first gear. I had it in second and it was just spinning, but if you put it in first gear, it has enough of a ratio to keep it from turning. I should have just started with that, but I didn't. But now all the bolts are loose and I can just undo them and take this out. Alright, that's out. Nice, I'm done. Alright, that's all of them. Good, I already made my paint mark on this so I know how to reassemble it when I get back in here. And my handbrake cables are loose. Now I've also undone this. Yeah, I think we're good for now. So I need to check what else I need to undo before I start dropping this thing down. And I think we're going to be good. Let's go. Alright, I got a quick progress update then. I've got the wheels off, rotors off. I got these lower bolts taken out from here. I now have the exhaust removed, which is sitting over there in the corner. And I also removed this metal panel out of here because it was a little bit rusty, so I'm gonna reform that rust and get it painted or powder coated or something or other. Yeah, you see the exhaust is now removed from there. Let's see, I think the next steps for me, I'm gonna actually remove the sway bar now. It's had the PB blaster soaking in for a while, so I'm gonna try and remove the sway bar. Hopefully that comes off okay. Yeah, that's the next step for me then. Alright, you need a 10mm and a 12mm. 10mm holds this in place, and hopefully I can get this thing with enough space under here. Pop this out. Just like that. Now these bolts here are 14mm. There we go. Now I just got to do the other side, and the sway bar is free. Alright, let's see what I can show you here. So I actually have my Hicus, or sorry, yeah, this is Hicus. My Hicus is already deleted. But instead of me having to introduce air to the system here, I actually have these lines. It's actually already looped here in the back. That was how it was done by the GTR shop in the UK. I don't really prefer it that way, but that's how they did it. I think what I'll do later on is I'll probably end up deleting all this thing and actually taking, you know, pretty much all of the lines out and everything, but I'm not going to do that at this moment. You can see this control here. So instead of me cracking these open and introducing air into the system, what I'm doing is I pulled down this bolt, this bracket, and then I'm undoing it here, and then I'm going to basically just swing this out of the way when I drop the subframe down. That should work in theory. The other thing that I had to do is, I don't know if you can see it very well, but up in there, let's see if I can get my hand up in here. This is one of the most difficult parts so far, is these connectors. So there's 1, 2, and then there's a third, and they go up above. If I can move this out of the way, it's hard to see, but way up there, Two of them are easy. These two big connectors are real easy to get loose. The third connector, which is right here, if you can see it, this connector, is a pain in the dick. And then this one connector probably took me almost 30 minutes to get it loose. You have to pinch it from the top and then pull it out. What I ended up having to use, believe it or not, let me slide out of here so you can actually see. This is actually the tool. See that? This is actually the tool that I had to use to unclip that third clip. And I went in from the side. Basically right here. I had to go in from right here and reach from there up all the way in and then push it down to actually get it. It's hard to see, but that's how I had to do it. Alright, let's get everybody caught up to where I am. I actually have removed all the interior bits and dropped down the rear suspension. I actually heard that it was easier to just go ahead and take the rear struts out altogether. Right there is the actual Atessa reservoir, so we'll be draining that here in a minute. Sitting over there are my coilovers, so those are completely out of the car now. So what I'm working on now is I'm actually up under the car here, but right here you can see that guy. That is the pressure line, the Atessa line that goes to the transfer case. So you actually have to disconnect that line, and then also you have to disconnect these lines right here as well and drain the Atessa fluid. These are the hard pipes that go up into the reservoir, and then right here are the soft lines. So I'm actually going to be disconnecting these and draining the Atessa fluid out. And I think at that point I should have everything free, and I should be in theory able to just go ahead and drop it down. Anyway, cross your fingers. Let's go. This is a 24 millimeter. I have no idea how much fluid is going to come out of this thing. Hopefully not a whole lot. Well, it's loose. Now it's dripping. Alright, time to unbolt the rest of these fluid lines in the back. Alright, now I got that line. That line is cracked free. So the Atessa system is now draining into a second pan. We'll give that a couple minutes, drain all that fluid out. The fluid is getting lower in there. Should take about another 2 minutes or so. That should be completely empty. Then we'll get those lines completely taken apart and try and drop subframe. Alright, one last little thing. I went to start unbolting the subframe bolts, and I got the front ones done and out of the way. And then I went to go do the rear ones, and for those of you that have a Hikis Delete, this arm was in the way, so I had to actually unbolt it down here, unbolt it from there, and then drop it down. So now I actually have access to the rear subframe bolt. So now we're going to get in there, undo the bolt, and then we should be able to drop this thing down. Everything looks good, but my my exhaust, I think, is just, it hangs over just too much. I think I'm going to go ahead and disconnect it up there at the cat, and then try it again. I took the rest of the exhaust down, the part that comes from the cat back to the muffler, and I think we should be good. So now I'm going to drop this thing down slowly. Let's see what happens. Coming down slow, checking for anything that's attached still. Looks okay. I don't hear anything. Grinding. Coming down real slow. Real slow. Alright, now I heard something make a noise. What was it? Alright, now I got it locked in. I'm going to check to make sure things are okay and free. I found one chassis ground on the other side that needs to be disconnected that I missed. So let's go do that. Let me show you. Alright, as I started dropping it down, you can see there is one more chassis ground right here that I need to disconnect. Let me do that now. Alright, I checked everything. One last thing I needed to do was the drive shaft was actually still seated, so I had to hit that with a hammer. That now looks like it is free. So I think we're good. We're going to bring it down the rest of the way. Is it free? Can't tell. Alright, it looks free. Let me check everything. Oh, for the love of Pete. I guess it's draining more liquid. Alright, well, it's now free. There we go. That all looks good. Whew. Man, freaking stressful as shit. Yeah! Ah, I did it. It's out. Now it's time to start disassembling it and getting it cleaned up. Let's go. Alright, well there you have it. I was actually able to get that subframe out completely by myself. No help whatsoever. On jack stands in my garage. Worked out well. What I'll do is I'll actually put a step-by-step in here with a little worksheet. I'll put it in there right now. And that'll show exactly every step of how you remove the subframe. That way you don't miss anything, nothing is dropped down, nothing is broken, all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, you'll be good to go if you just follow this step-by-step guide. Anyway, yeah, you know what, I think I'll end the video there. I'll make another video of me tearing this thing down, getting it cleaned up, because I'm actually going to get it powder coated. I'm actually going to be welding in some subframe reinforcement areas. I'm actually going to be welding on the anti-squat kit from GKTech, so I'll make that a separate video. Hopefully you liked the video. Hopefully it was helpful for you if you're doing this yourself. If you're not already a subscriber, click that subscribe button. Follow along as I do this rebuild on my GTR, and I'll see you in the next video.